Welcome to Dear Friends
and Dead Ends Podcast.
My name is Ashley.
My name is Cody.
Cases may contain graphic material as well as explicit language. Intro music, Welcome to the Hell Zone by Spooky Black Vague 003 Remix.
So I want to say thank you to anyone who has listened. There was a huge uptick in downloads over the last couple days. Some of it has been just different people from all different states. We've hit almost all of them now. Mexico also has joined us. I also want to mention we are on TikTok. We have DFDE Pod. We have Dear Friends Dead Ends Pod, which is on Instagram. We have 1,000 followers on Instagram now, which I think is pretty amazing.
It's fucking crazy.
I'm not gonna lie, pretty proud of that. We're also on YouTube, Dear Friends and Dead Ends Podcast. We are up to 8 reviews and ratings on Apple Podcasts, which is really cool. We're super close to 10. I want to have a goal right now with 15 if possible. But we just appreciate anyone that's rated us, that's had any, nice things to say. It's really, really cool. I think obviously I have Ted Bundy's for you guys, but I also want to mention this coming Thursday, we are going to be on Twitch. We're going to try it out, see how it goes. We're going to be doing Theory Thursdays. I'm going to have the tinfoil bag, which is just a bag full of conspiracy theories. We'll pick it blindly, see how it goes, and hopefully we'll know what it is, or we'll be able to look it up real quick and kind of discuss. But it'll also be interactive because there's a chat on there and everything, so people can also make comments.
It's very likely that I'll be drinking, and because we're going to do all the research live. I think that'll be a more fun way to do it than like giving ourselves a 5-minute research round and then trying to figure it out. I think looking up stuff live I think it's going to be.
Oh, I think so too, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely going to be entertaining. When do you want me to do the Ted Bundy's?
Do you want to do it between the stories?
Yeah, like a refresher, like a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That works. All right.
Mine ends on a real down note.
Oh, fuck. Today's not going to be good, guys. Hence why I'm wearing a palate.
Honestly, mine's not terribly in depth, but it is interesting, and I have pictures for you of some of the possible suspects, and it's kind of a good time.
Kind of a good time. I think that comes up our podcast. We're talking about sad events. Okay, all right, Severus.
That's fair. It's still not a fun story.
Right. But sometimes the details though really, really set it off.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can go first.
You want me to go? All right. So I'm going to be talking about the story of so a little immature, and that's why I looked into this story, because her last name is Bish.
Yes.
And it made me immediately like, Bish, listen. So that's genuinely why I clicked on it, and then I was like, oh shit, this is kind of interesting. So I'm talking about the story of Molly Bish. She was 16 in the summer of 2000. I think she was working as a lifeguard in her hometown of Warren, Massachusetts. Her family had actually moved there before she was born in hopes that it would be a quiet and safe place for her to grow up.
Cody, why do you gotta word it like that? Because we know where this is going.
She did 16 years worth of growing up.
Cody, you're not like wrong, but also
I could have phrased it better. Yes, it was a quiet and safe place for her to grow up until that summer. So Molly was actually working as a lifeguard at a pond. there was a place in town called Commons Pond, and that's where everyone like went to. I guess there was separate spots where you could swim, and then spots where you could fish. Her mom, yeah, I mean, I assume it was decently big, perhaps bordering on a lake. Wasn't quite there.
Okay, right.
Her mom, Maggie, dropped her off on June 26, 2000 for her shift. Later, her mom recalls seeing like a dude in a white sedan, just classic creep, thick mustache, just sitting in the car, like making eyes at everyone walking into the pond.
Ugh.
Yeah, just gross. She didn't think anything much of it because Molly just ran straight into her shift, and she knew Molly was safe. What?
Okay, I do know who this is. I thought the names. I do, yeah, just because I'd heard it like once.
So the following day, the 27th, Maggie dropped Molly off for her shift and scanned the parking lot for Creepo. Was looking for him.
Good way to be.
Yeah. Researching it, I began referring to him as Mr. Mustache. So she looks for Mr. Mustache, no sign of him. Her mind was at ease. As it turns out, unfortunately, someone later that was working in the area reported that he was actually parked at the cemetery, which was connected to the pond through a short remote path through the woods. So I guess there was a cemetery nearby, and there was a pond, and there was a path to each for through the woods.
Yeah, it's called Death. That's the path.
Yes, no, that makes sense. So a few hours later, Maggie gets a call from the police. The police actually know that Molly rather is supposed to be the lifeguard on duty, but they've gotten several calls from concerned parent that there's no lifeguard at the pool. So
okay, all right, go ahead.
So I guess she was the only, or not the pool, at the pond. I guess she was the only lifeguard that day.
But like, you would think that someone would have been there that would have seen when she was there, and then how she ended up not being there.
You would think that, yes. It also is. Well, I mean, no, I guess that makes sense that the police went there, checked it out, and then called the mom. So Maggie goes up there to check on Molly.
She's a minor.
Molly is, yes. She's 16.
Okay, yeah, so that makes sense.
So Molly goes up to the pond to check for, or Maggie goes up to the pond to check for Molly, and all of Molly's things are at her post. So there's her beach chair, her suntan lotion, her flip-flops, everything's there except Molly. So Maggie is actually the last known person to have seen her daughter alive. No one within the pond has any recollection of seeing her that day. So there's not much more to it at that point. It's literally just like she's gone. There's no sign of a struggle. The police actually did like a very, very in-depth search of the pond area as well as the surrounding woods. They can't find anything. There's no sort of evidence whatsoever. It was actually the largest and most expensive missing person case in Massachusetts, and I don't know if it was that time or if it still is. I didn't see any clarification as to that, but at the very least at the time it was the largest and most expensive missing persons case. So Molly's parents actually created a website and email train trying to spread awareness of the fact that she was missing. So they had an email. They were sending it to people and asking, basically like a chain letter, asking people to send it forward. And it's estimated that up to like 30,000 people ended up seeing this email because people were concerned.
That was really how you had to do it back then.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, in 2000 especially, I mean,
Yeah, there was no
it
faithful.
was, yeah, it was kind of grassroots. So the following year, Maggie's still looking for her daughter. She's still pushing the website. She's still pushing the email. And she actually reaches out to a well-known sketch artist named Jean Boylan. So this woman was kind enough to actually meet Maggie at a bed and breakfast, and she spoke with her for 9 hours while tweaking the artist's rendition of Mr. Mustache. Okay. The mom actually got it to the point. Well, the mom and the artist, obviously, because the artist had a huge hand in this. The mom and the artist got it to the point where the mom was like, that's him. There's just something off about it, and I don't know what it is. And then she realized, like, can you add him smoking a cigarette? And as soon as they added the cigarette, she was like, that's the fucking guy.
I'm glad she got a good look at him, because there's so many cases where there's nothing, you know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah, exactly.
you don't
And
always
it
get
was
that.
it was something that he was giving off enough of a like fucking creep vibe the day before she went missing that her mom was like, yeah, I gotta check for him tomorrow. So I'm gonna send you the file of the artist rendition. It looks exactly like Joseph Stalin.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
This one.
Did I ever tell you about the one time at Goodwill in Annapolis with my mom? So we're in Goodwill in Annapolis, Maryland, just like going about looking for stuff. And then some guy walks in with a trench coat on. It's like a tan trench coat. I'm pulling it up now. And he literally looks at me and goes, "Hi, how you doing?" With this trench coat on and sunglasses, being sketchy as fuck. I don't know if I was in my school uniform because I used to go to like a private school, but either way, he looks at me and I was like, nope, nope, nope. Ran immediately to my mother, would not leave her. I'll never forget, he had blonde hair, the sunglasses, like I remember him fairly vividly, but it was the creepiest thing. And oh my God, he does.
He looks exactly like Joseph Stalin. And the other thing that fucking killed me was it was like, can you add him smoking a cigarette? And it looks like just clip art of a hand holding a cigarette in front of his mouth.
It kind of does.
And she was like, fucking nailed it.
If you put a captain's hat on him, it would look like Joseph Stalin.
It looks like Joseph Stalin. It's insane. Like I pulled it up and was like, oh
We'll
no.
put it on the Instagram and the TikTok, guys. You'll be able to see the really sketch photo.
Yeah, sketch is a thing.
Sketch squared.
Oh, you.
Unintentional.
It's a sketchy sketch.
Sketchy sketch.
All right.
Should probably move on.
Yeah, moving on. So so this kind of blows my mind. In May of 2003, so this is 3 years after she has disappeared. Okay. A man named Tim McGigan brings his friend into the police. Okay. The reason he brings
nope, continue.
My internet connection is unstable.
We're all a little bit unstable, so it's fine.
So what were you saying? Tim McGigan?
I was going to make a joke. I was going to ask if anyone called him McGiggity. I'm done.
I sure hope not. So he brings his friend to the police and like coerces his friend into telling the police what he saw. Okay? Everyone in this goddamn small town knows about Molly's case. They all know she was last seen wearing a blue bathing suit.
Yes.
Okay? Everyone in this small town. Tim McGigan's buddy, the previous fall hunting season, had seen a blue bathing suit out in the middle of the goddamn woods. And he didn't tell anyone. So he just casually mentions it to Tim McGigan, and Tim's like, "You what? You found a blue? We need to go to the police." And the guy's like, "Huh? Why?" He's like, "That's probably where the fucking girl is, you idiot." I assume that's how a conversation I would imagine would go, because
I love how he just like looks up and he's like, "It's not swimming season," and he just like continues on with his.
yeah, that's quite a ways from the pond. Yeah, no, god damn it. So the police have Tim's friend take them back out to where he found the blue bathing suit. They find the bathing suit and they find Molly's body. So almost 3 years after she's disappeared, her remains are found less than 5 miles from where her parents live.
Wait, and okay, so how long had it been? Was it like a year, or was it like just like several months that since he saw it?
It had been probably like what, May? It's probably 7-8 months. So you're getting on close to a year that he's seen this blue bathing suit and didn't tell anyone. So yeah, almost 3 years after she goes missing, her body's found less than 5 miles from her parents' home. And that's it. They find her body. They continued investigating, but they never found anyone. So one of the main suspects they have is a guy named Rodney Stanger, or Stanger. I like Stanger better.
I think it
so
Stanger. It might be Stanger.
I like the sound of that better anyway. So there was another suspect that there was actually some like physical evidence that led to a different case, and they think could be tied to Molly. But that man died in like early 2000s. There was another guy that was a suspicious fuck, and he ended up, I believe, killing himself in prison. And then there's Rodney Stanger. So he ends up being questioned with the case because Stanger lived in the area for 20 years and moved suddenly 1 year after Molly's disappearance.
Wow.
So 1 year after Molly disappears, this guy who's lived there for 20 years just up and moves to Florida. While he's in Florida, he begins dating a woman named Crystal Morrison. He kills her.
What?
He kills Crystal Morrison, his girlfriend. He is found guilty of it. He's in with the police, and Crystal's sister is actually the one who had the thought to reach out to the authorities in Massachusetts. Was like, hey, he lived in the area where this, nationwide story came from. So when he lived in that area, he had access to a white car. He often fished in the pond that Molly worked at, and he was known to hunt where her body was found. So it's a suspicious dude. Having said that, I have a picture of this guy as well.
Does he look like, Hitler or some other type of notable figure? Grandpa Joe, is that what you...
He looks like Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka if Grandpa Joe didn't know no means no.
That was a lot. If Grandpa Joe didn't know no means no.
If Grandpa Joe wasn't a huge fan of consent, it would be this guy. Pull it up. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm working on it. All right, let's see this thing. Oh shit. Okay. All right.
Yep.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's like the facial hair is a little bit trimmed, but yeah, he's looking like a suspicious fuck.
So I mentioned that other that other suspect that ended up dying in the early 2000s, there was actual physical evidence that made him a suspect in a different case. That case was actually in 1993. Another girl in that area had gone missing. That was Holly Piranen. She was the same age and description as Molly in 1993 when she went missing.
So she had blonde hair. Because I don't think we described her. She had blonde hair like Molly, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the kind of weird synchronicities of these two cases go so far as to when Holly went missing, Molly, who was 10 at the time, actually wrote a letter to Holly's parents consoling them. I'm going to read you, it's a quick little letter, but it is haunting. It simply read, "I am very sorry. I wish I could make it up to you. Holly is a very pretty girl. She is almost as tall as me. I wish I knew Holly. I hope they find her. Molly Bish at the age of 10.
Jesus. Jesus.
Yeah, no, it's a bummer.
Wow.
Just a lot of weird parallels that every research I was like, all the things I was reading about really don't mention that until the very end when they're like, oh, also Molly, Holly, they were like, you know, they were the same person, same age, same like height, hair color, build, everything like that. But yeah, that letter gives me the chills. Like that.
Yeah, no, that's horrible. It's legit
Yeah.
horrible. I can't.
Ted Bundy?
Yeah, I think it's about time, don't you?
All right, cool.
All right. Let's get into the Ted Bundys, guys. And by the way, I want to mention, I didn't say her name, but the person that sent the no soul ginger joke last week is actually Autumn. So I want to give her credit for that because she deserves it. And I want to point out, what are you going to say?
I was going to boo because I know Autumn's going to listen to this and get upset.
Such a bad person. So another person sent me that same joke this past week. And I don't know if that person has listened to the podcast, which makes me laugh because you're technically a ginger. And I don't know if they knew that. So they, you know what I mean?
Technically?
I mean, I'm pretty sure you are.
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
Definitely are a
100%.
ginger.
I just trying to play it off. I want people to think I have a soul.
No one will notice. So let's see. What else was sent to me? Okay. So here's another one. And it says, if there is a serial killer inside your house, what is the safest place to hide?
Serial killer inside your house, what is the safest place to hide? I don't know.
In the living room.
God damn it. Oh, it was right under my nose.
It really was. I thought you were going to get it for sure. I thought you were definitely.
I was like, the cellar? Does that make sense?
The cellar. Let's see. I definitely have more, but I want to make sure we have, some for each episode. So I'm going to do one more. Let's see the other one. Okay. So Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer have dinner together. Ugh. Ted, hey Jeff, you got any ice cream in the freezer? Jeffrey, nah, only Ben and Jerry. Get it?
That's good.
All right. Good talk. So thank you guys for sending those. We really do appreciate it. It's a really good palate cleanser also because there's just a lot to unpack with. So I don't even know how to get into it. Anyone who listened to the last episode knows that I was talking about the case of Emanuela Orlandi. She was in Italy. She actually lived in Vatican City in Rome. And basically, I thought for sure I was doing a completely different case today. I already knew what it was going to be. I had it ready. And then 18 hours ago, someone DMs me on Instagram or the podcast, and they're like, hey, I have the audio clips from the phone call of Emanuela's voice. And I also have all of this shit, like all of this history of that area, the cardinal, the people investigating the case. Like, this person has delved into it on an unreal level. They have the audio clips of the calls from Mario and Pierre Luigi. Like, they have all of this because I don't know if they're journalists. I actually don't know the name of my source, and I prefer not to know the name of my source because it goes deep into, I don't want to say the Vatican specifically, but people that are involved with the Vatican and the Catholic Church. So before anyone like comes for me, I don't know who this person is. This has been told to me. It's second/third-hand information. It's sensitive material, but I think it needs to be told. So we're going to continue. This is going to be part 2 of Emanuela Orlandi and her story. I don't even know how to fully get into it. I'll probably play the audio clips first. If anyone has no idea what we're talking about, please go and listen to that first. That way you're caught up about what we're going to talk about. But
while you're listening to that episode, why don't you like and subscribe?
Oh my God,
give us a 5-star review.
So professional.
Yes. I try.
We really do appreciate it. Even if you're not listening on Apple Podcasts, that is really the only place that you can rate, review, and actually get more notoriety for us. It really helps us out. More people will see our podcast and potentially listen. So if you like us, please also let your friends know about us. With that said, let's get into the audio clips that are really, really haunting. So I need to preface it with, this may trigger some people. This may really bother some people, as it should. It also initially sounds like porn. It is not, so don't think that it is, everybody. Okay? Okay. It's someone being tortured. All right, I gotta see if I can. Can you hear it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that is clip 1. I'm
Oof.
sorry. There are more. I'm sorry. I don't know if, yep. So it's basically her saying, I'm in pain, stop, it hurts. I'm really sorry.
Jeez.
I can't do more of it. I can't play more of it. But like, you get the gist. It's like, it's traumatizing. Like, it's haunting. Like, it affected me the rest of the night. Because that shit is like, that's someone
That's intense.
tortured. That's really intense. And this is what they played for her parents. This is what her parents had to listen to. Could you imagine?
I'd prefer not to, honestly.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, being like her parents and everything that they had to.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So there's a little bit more to the clips, but I honestly don't want to play more of it. I think you guys got the gist of it. It's really hard to listen to, knowing that someone was in that much pain and just going through all of that. So those are the audio clips that were sent to me. And I guess we'll kind of get into it, but the main three topics that get involved in this part of the story is obviously the Avon man, which was the rep that had, found the work for her. She was going to distribute pamphlets, do whatever. She was going to work for Avon, theoretically. And then there was the Vatican pharmacy, which is also involved, and it gets kind of weird. And then there is it's called the institution. I think it may be a hospital. It's Fata Benefratelli. Fata Benefratelli is the name. I'm not going to try and do it in Italian. It's not happening. I don't want to butcher it more than I already have. But
yeah, this is a much heavier feeling portion of the show. I don't know that I'd hit anyone with the Italian accent right now. That's a good call.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Gets really serious. So a lot of this also involves allegedly Cardinal Poletti. He is woven throughout this whole thing. It's a name you're going to need to remember. So what is it? Cardinal Poletti. It's Poletti. And so at first you're probably like, why is the pharmacy involved? Why do we care? But just wait.
Is it Cardinal what?
Poletti. It's Poletti.
Oh yeah.
So the Vatican pharmacy, it's managed by...
His first name's Ugo.
Correct. It is. It is. So the pharmacy is managed by a board of directors, some of whom are from the religious Vatican side of things to make sure it abides by the church standards. Some of it, I think, is just like general people that are just in charge of the pharmacy. Like I would imagine people that are of that world and know all the pharmaceutical terms, knowledge, what you need to know, all of that. So these directors, they decide the contents and what is going to get sold at the Vatican pharmacy. They're in charge of making sure it abides by church standards, making sure what is sold there is allowed to be sold there. This means...
All right, this is potentially a very dumb question.
Go ahead.
It's like a pharmacy, right? Like a medicine pharmacy. It doesn't mean like something else in Italy.
No, definitely.
I'm like, how do you...
Right now. It's literally, it's just the pharmacy, basically. There could be other things sold there, which is what I'm about to get to, in terms of like maybe hygiene, self-care products, not necessarily just medicine, but
not like birth control.
Correct. So they, as the Catholic Church, and everyone knows, they do not condone the use of birth control, including condoms. So those two things were not going to be sold there.
So many babies.
Yeah, lots of babies. So the president, and I'm going to call the Fata Benefratelli, I'm going to call it the institution just because it's easier for me to pronounce, but that's what I mean, is that the hospital, the institution, that building. So there are two people that are in charge of this whole situation, basically. Our unofficial sponsor, thank you. There's the president of the institution, and there is the director of the Catholic healthcare system. So these two people are in charge of all of this going on. When Emanuela disappeared, Ugo Poletti, aka Cardinal, he was not only Cardinal, he was also the honorary president of the hospital institution. He wasn't the official person in charge, but honorarily he was in charge, just as one of like a representative, I guess.
But he just had like a church history. He didn't have a medical history, right?
Oh yeah, he probably didn't know shit about medicine, but he's honorarily in charge. There's someone else who is physically in charge, and I'll get to him, but he also, for some reason, is given this honorary title. So the other of the two is an auxiliary bishop named Florenzo Angelini, and he is the director of the Catholic healthcare system. So these two people are running this deal. Angelini, Poletti. So in late 1982, this is about 6-ish months, maybe 8-ish months before Emanuela disappears, the pharmacy grants this request, although we have no idea who put the request in, to carry feminine products. And by this, I don't just mean like once a month feminine products. I'm talking about like makeup, body wash, hair care, stuff like that to help, take care of yourself. So
Not just the lady corks.
just not the what?
The lady corks.
The lady corks?
A cork for a lady.
I know, I've never once heard that. Wow. All right. Jesus. I can't unhear that. Okay. So in 1983, the pharmacy began to see a huge jump in sales of these feminine products, soon after they started selling them. And then random people would come in and buy everything in bulk. Everything they had that day.
Like,
yeah, like random people. Like we don't know who these people are that would do this because there was no ID system. You didn't have to give an ID when you bought these things. So, because it wasn't like medication, so it makes sense. So it became such an issue that they had to develop an ID system and limit how much you could buy of different things so that they weren't just sold out to one person. So it seems like a little bit strange. Maybe they're reselling them. You're not really sure.
Yeah.
It's just kind of fucking weird. So the timing is
how would you scalp pads though?
It might not even be pads like makeup.
Oh, right. Forgot.
Like other stuff like that. Hey, yo, I got something for you. Feels like a mattress. You'll love it.
I got some MAC lip gloss.
Your lips be popping, bitch.
Yes.
However they say that in Italian. Yes. So coinciding with these bulk purchases, a man was witnessed time and again soliciting young women throughout Rome. Not just, Vatican City, but throughout Rome. And the work being offered very much lines up with what Emanuela was offered with. And it pertains to fashion, makeup sales, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to mention Avon in 1983 was all female run. Like the whole thing was all female. There were no males working for the company at the time. It just wasn't a thing. And I don't remember if that is also considered multi-level marketing. I feel like it is because I feel like
probably.
I'm pretty sure it is. It was just the nicer version of it. It was a little less sketch, I think. So anyway, it wouldn't have been a man. A man would not have come up to you if it was legit. It definitely would have been a woman. So this is where we get to the specifics of what happened to Emanuela on June 22nd, 1983. She was asked to hand out pamphlets at an upcoming fashion show. That was specifically what she had been told she could do for work. And it was for Atelier Fontana, and it was run by the Fontana sisters, who are an actual, I think it was like 2 or 3 sisters at the time who actually were doing, I don't know if it was makeup, but fashion, all of that. And so it was a legit company, legit people. However, the fashion show that he had mentioned to her wasn't real. It wasn't going to be happening that month. It wasn't going to be happening in that vicinity.
Oh.
So she would have known who they were. So she's like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, definitely. That sounds like a great deal. I'll get to see the show, number 1. Number 2, I get to hand out these pamphlets. It sounds great. And you're going to pay me. So.
All right. So hang on. I looked it up real quick. Avon and Mary Kay both are not considered multi-level marketing or pyramid schemes because technically you can still make actual money selling products. You have to pay for them up front, but if you're a good enough salesperson, you can actually make your career solely by selling the products. Though you do earn way more by getting other people signed up.
Interesting.
While other pyramid schemes, it's basically just like you have to sign people up or else you're not making money.
It's very similar.
It's a technicality only.
I think we're gonna say it's just short of MLM. Okay. So Emanuela, she is one of many young women that were likely all underage because she was 15, who would disappear in Italy kind of around this time, I would assuming like before and after her. So this has been a continuing thing, I think.
Okay. Gross.
Yeah. And I do want to point out, we're going to be talking more about Cardinal Poletti. he was actually missing. This just like right before we recorded, this person told me this. So Poletti was missing June 22nd of 1983 when she disappeared. His whereabouts are not known from about 5 o'clock p.m. or, 1700 hours to about 1530 hours, which is like 3:30 the next day. No one knows
So
where he
almost
is.
a full 24 hours, 20 or so hours.
Correct. It's very close. And only his trusted driver knew. It was the same person that always drove him around. So obviously that person's not going to say shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only that person knows. No one has asked, where he was. No one gives a fuck. He just lives his life and they're like, all right, cool, enjoy it. Who gives a fuck? So I asked my source about the phone number situation. I asked them, I said, hey, is it fucking weird to you also that they give the phone number of the family instead of the police? Like, is that weird? It sounds weird. And they said, even though it was the 80s, short answer, yes. Long answer, 4 reasons, basically. So the police didn't really want to get involved because there had been a lot of political and or other kidnapping situations. And I think they probably were overwhelmed. They had a lot going on already. They didn't want to get involved because they weren't taking it seriously initially. So the uncle of Emanuela, he actually gets put in charge by the family. He says he'll do it. He mans the phone calls and only puts through and only, deals with the serious ones.
Oh, okay. So he was their caller ID.
Basically, yeah. So basically he's the one who's fielding these calls, taking them for them.
That makes way more sense than just their phone constantly blowing up with everyone calling. It's a little bit less sketch. It's a little better. Yeah.
I still feel like it should have been handled professionally. However, I think he did a great job in terms of he took it seriously, obviously, because we have these recordings. So something went well in that aspect. So his name is Mario, and I think it's Meneguzzi, but I could be wrong. So he was dealing with all the calls. The police opted out. And I did mention it was because of past kidnapping, political stuff, all of that. But it may not have been a coincidence that they opted out. It may not have been just an overwhelming amount. It may have been organized. So this takes us to one individual. His name is Giulio. I don't know if it's Gangi or Ganji. I'm not really sure. I'm going to say Ganji just because it's easier. He was investigating the case. He was looking into it. He was trying to figure out the dark BMW situation, trying to figure out who it was. So he ended up finding a dark, and it was in fact a dark green BMW that needed repairs around the time that Emanuela vanished. Get ready. So, car damage, it's not unusual. People hit things, they scratch, they dent their cars all the time. Shit always happens. So you're like, okay, not like this. And I put period marks right behind each word because get ready. The damage was to the interior of the car.
Immediately suspicious.
Including glass broken from the inside out as if someone fought for their life, desperately trying to escape.
Even more suspicious.
So it's not looking good. So obviously he wants to find out whose car this is. And he narrows it down to a certain block of apartments, and he goes there. And he shows up, he knocks on the door, and he's immediately chased away by a blonde woman with, quote, stocky legs. So
thunder thighs.
Right?
Thick girl. She was chasing him.
He hashtag checks that thigh. He noticed those thighs, baby.
Call back. Yes.
So that is the verbal version of a high five right there. So basically, he noticed those thighs. God, it's just crazy. But he doesn't know who she is. He just knows that she's there. She chases him away. She is not having it at all. She's yelling at him the whole time as she's chasing him. The next day he goes into the office. He's immediately been taken off and reassigned to a menial desk job. That's when you know you on the right track. That's when you know you've got something good.
There's a lot of red flags.
He gets reassigned. So he's doing menial desk shit. He's stuck in the office. He can't go anywhere. It's just a bunch of bullshit. So I'm about to talk about a chain of people. So there's, I literally wrote ganja instead of Ganji. So go me.
Legalize it.
That's our message of the day. So his superior was a man named Vincenzo Parisi. Parisi reported to a guy named Oscar Luigi Scalfaro. Ganji reported to Vincenzo Parisi. Parisi reported to this guy named Oscar Luigi Scalfaro, who was also worked as a minister in some type of area around the city. So Scalfaro is the one you really want to remember. So he reported to the president of the republic, and that person's name was Sandro Pertini. And basically, Scalfaro is important because he and Cardinal Poletti were longtime really good friends. And I mean, like, really. So this guy is in this is the investigation.
You mean like really good friends, like best buddies, or you mean like really good friends?
Or like that throuple situation?
Maybe.
Oh, is that what you meant? Not like the throuple situation, but like pals. Like they were good friends. They had known each other for over 30 years. They met in the 50s when one of them, Poletti, was the parish priest, and then Scalfaro was the parishioner. So you know what?
Okay.
Maybe I don't know their history, but I think they're just friends. Nonetheless, so they're incredibly close, and you know, one is the Vatican side of things, where the scandal is kind of going on right now in the story, and the other one is on the investigation side of things.
That's convenient.
Yeah,
that's very.
Check that out. That sounds.
If you're fucking around doing something shady, you want to have an inside guy.
Yeah, and then clearly this woman with the thighs noticed or said something to someone because immediately he's taken off. Ganji's taken off. He's no more. Not part of the case. So this is where it then takes us to the Basilica, and AKA where the flute school was. So Emanuela loved music. As we know, she sang in the choir, but she also played piano as well as the flute. And the director of the school, Sister Dolores, she was also friends with Cardinal Poletti because, of course, they're in Vatican City, close proximity. They know each other. So he would come over all the time to the Basilica. He would hold mass there for the students as well as their families. The choir that she was in would sing during the mass. So guaranteed he saw her. Like he knew she existed because she wasn't just in the crowd, like she was up on the stage also. So there's that. And let's see, we would have seen her multiple times. And this is when I talk about Vergari. He is the person who's actually in charge of the institution, but nothing gets really mentioned. It's just Scalfaro and Poletti that are the most important. But wouldn't you know it, Vergari was a pedophile. Allegedly.
Oh, okay.
Allegedly.
That's so like
air quotes. He only targeted boys, though.
Okay, but is that like allegedly like, ew, he was real creepy, or is that like Jeffrey Epstein allegedly? Where it's like all but confirmed.
I'm gonna say it's in between the two. Like it's not just like he's a creepy person, and I'm not saying he's Epstein level.
That's fair.
But I will say it was reported that he kept cots in the basement of the Basilica for meetings with male students. No one has talked about what went on in the meetings. No one has mentioned it, and the source is actually afraid to ask because of fear of this whole situation, and they don't want to have something happen. You know what I mean? Just because of all the ties to the Vatican and all these important people who have a lot of power.
I feel like that confirms it, because if you're in a school and kids don't live there, the only place that should have any sort of like bed would be the nurse's office.
Correct.
Not the basement where you hold quote unquote meetings. That's a problem.
No, for sure, that's a problem.
Ugh. Oh,
and
gross.
this is where we're getting into things that are just so well hidden in Catholic churches everywhere that you're starting to hear more about from like 80s, 70s, 60s, all this shit that went down. So it's a scary thing to get into because these are the people you're supposed to trust. These are the people that are supposed to be the holiest and most devout, upstanding of people. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's hard to get into it. So then we get into the dossier. I don't know what that is.
That's Baphomet.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You should get that tattoo.
Maybe.
You should. You legitimately should. When we reach 100,000 downloads, he has to get that tattoo.
All right, sure.
Cool. All right, so in 2017, this dossier, a set of pages, and I actually was sent them by the person in the DM, my source. And this is where it gets into expense breakdown that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. I'm sorry, there's so much detail. So then we come to a convent. And at this convent, there is, you know, the regular nuns, just, you know, your everyday sisters, just the people that are normally there. And then you have the Mother Superior. She's the one in charge.
Okay.
And she sits down for a really undercover interview with someone over there. And they're digging into information and into weird behaviors regarding young women that have showed up at the convent. So in the early 80s, a representative for Poletti, I wrote Pervetti because, of course. So
makes sense.
Yes. So this representative shows up with random girls just all the time, just whenever. Just randomly, he just shows up and he's like, hey, here's a girl. Put her in the place. Put her in the thing. I'm like, go ahead. So
wait, just enroll her in the school or
admit her to the convent. She's coming.
Oh, the convent. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're done with the basilica. We're done with the school.
Yeah. So he just shows up and he's like, hey,
got another one.
Recruited another nun for you.
Basically.
Ew,
so not a single of these girls has a parent with her. I'm assuming they're underage. Not a single family member. It's always this guy. Always this guy.
Wait. And who's this guy?
This guy, I don't think there's a name for him.
Oh, okay. So it's not someone we've discussed. It's just
it's just
a guy who shows up.
Yeah.
He's a oh no, that's never mind.
We're gonna say
I was gonna say he's
You can say like Ghislaine Maxwell.
Oh no, I was gonna say he's a dog catcher for nuns.
It's not for the nuns, I can promise you that.
Or future nuns.
Oh, not really. So
okay.
Yeah, oh God, are you ready for this? Not like every single one came from the music school at the Basilica.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait.
All of them came from the music school.
How big was this fucking school that like people aren't picking up on it?
I don't know how often this happened. I don't know all that. Allegedly, they all came from that school over the years.
Yeah, but when you say they all come from this school, for me, if one person goes missing, I'm like, fuck, that's a problem. I'm going to keep my eye on that place. 2, you would just say both people came from the school. 3, I feel like when you're saying all these girls came from the school, we're at a number that's like enough that it's like someone should have fucking caught on to that. Oh, right, but the police are potentially.
Yeah, and they've had so many kidnappings already. You know what I mean? That have over the years that they've had to deal with.
The Vatican,
yeah, it's like
okay. So hang on. The Vatican's in Italy, right?
I mean, the Cardinal's part of the Vatican, technically.
Yeah, but it's in Italy.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah. I didn't know Italy was such a wild west.
It's real interesting.
Sounds like fucking Brazil. Brazil's
yeah.
There's a lot of shit going on down there.
Yeah, it sounds like Tijuana, Mexico or something. Like it's just like free for all. So this has happened enough times that Mother Superior is like, yeah, none of them had a parent, no family. But I was like, hey, come on in. Why not? Doesn't object to this, lets it happen. Because she also knows Cardinal Poletti.
Right.
Because it's a small, like they all know each other. Like they know him.
And this is in the 80s.
Yes.
I feel like permission slips have definitely been a thing since the 80s. And these people are just showing up and handing people over. This is frustrating.
I'm gonna kidnap your daughter. You okay with it? Sign here.
No, I mean, like, I feel like you need back in the, I mean, maybe you didn't back in the 80s. I feel like you probably needed a permission slip to like go on a field trip. So the fact that these nuns are just like, that keep bringing us these children.
So. I don't know
Really?
if they did. You know what?
Yeah, everyone
If
was on
anyone
coke.
is listening to this and knows if permission slips were a thing in the 80s, DM us, let us know. I'd be curious as to when that whole thing started. I'm super curious. So typically all the nuns are in the same wing. They're all in the same area. They all have their individual rooms, but they can congregate, talk with each other whenever. They can move freely about the convent. Not these girls. So these girls that are brought by the representative, they were all kept in a different wing of the convent. They were barred from visiting the common areas. They were not allowed to speak with the other sisters. They weren't allowed to make their presence known at all. Yes. So basically,
less than ideal.
They are prisoners. They are prisoners. Obviously.
Which brings me back to the dog catcher thing.
You done? Although, this is
for now, yes.
This is not a time for a BTK joke. Okay, so let's continue on. So the cost for keeping the girls there, feeding them, what have you, this is not taken on by the convent. It's not part of their expenses that they take on. Who paid for all the underage prisoners? Poletti. Yeah, you can see what
that makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah. His explanation, the girls had to, quote, give their vows to become nuns. You can read into that however you want.
I mean, that's technically true. I think you do have to vow to be a nun.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's by like, right. The connotation is definitely different when you've been held prisoner for an undisclosed amount of time. Then the vows, they don't seem as pure.
No, sure doesn't. So there's a curfew at the convent. That's probably typical. So during the time when the nuns were in their individual rooms, during the curfew, Mother Superior would then venture into the other wing of the convent. And not long after these girls arrive, she starts to notice they stop eating. They stop eating. They're just sitting there in their rooms and they're just crying to themselves at night because they're miserable. They're prisoners. Like, it's got to be such a shit situation. They can't talk to their families. They've been abducted, essentially. So Poletti, like a sanctified pimp in his own mind. Yeah, correct. Would visit this hall every so often, and apparently quite often. And like any egomaniac, he wanted to be welcomed as if he was God's gift to humanity when he arrived. He wanted to have a warm welcome. He wanted them to greet him as if they had been waiting for him to arrive for so long. And it was like what they'd been looking forward to. Yes, that face exactly. So Mother Superior had to instruct these poor girls to act carefree and elated when he arrived. So you're alone. You're fed God knows what. You're kept prisoner and not allowed to see the building you're kept in. You can't check it out. You can't do anything. This asshole who's in charge of why you're there, so self-obsessed, comes in and you've got to act like he's the best thing you've ever met. Gross.
It's very gross.
Gross.
That's real upsetting.
So he would come in and he would visit the rest of the nuns, the ones that everyone knows about, those sisters. He would talk to them for like an hour or two just to save face, maybe that's why he's there. And then he would go into the other wing because he needed to hear their confessions of the girls that were in the wing.
Oh.
Get on my face.
Oh, that.
So,
that gave me spitty mouth like I was gonna throw up. That's real gross.
I hate him. So, while interviewing Mother Superior, the source noticed she kind of waned between mentioning too much special attention from Poletti and then going back to, I never saw anything. I didn't see anything happen. So she fluctuated during the interview, almost like she was disgusted in a way, but yet she never saw anything. Like nothing ever happened.
That's that gross thing where it's like, I don't agree with it, but it's what's expected, so I have to be quiet. That's
it's almost like that keep sweet thing in the FLDS. Do you know about that?
Yeah. Yes.
And you're laughing. I can't handle you.
Yes,
so
it is. No, I didn't.
It's almost like a brainwashing where you're instructed to accept the nature of things, whether you think it's good or not.
It's that weird, like almost cult mentality where it's all you know. So it's like, what are you going to do? Alienate yourself from what you've spent your entire life doing?
Right.
You're going to speak up now? Like it's a fear tactic, basically.
Especially if she knows him, so it's not like she can be easily tracked down.
Yeah.
Easily tracked down. So I did put there was a bitch move, but it's just I feel for her in that this is what her life has been, so she kind of has to deal with it. But also,
I wanted to go on record that Ashley officially called a nun a bitch.
Yeah, it's a bitch move. So
that's fair.
You're enabling a predator. I hope, oh God, this is gonna be maybe callous. I don't know. I hope she looked in the mirror every morning with shame in her reflection. I hope she cried on multiple occasions knowing what she let happen. I hope she did. I hope you feel
I'm sure. Yeah. No, I was going to say I'm sure she did, but I'm not.
Sometimes they don't, but I hope she did. I hope she woke up every day of her life, like just feeling guilt, knowing that was going on, and she did nothing about it. So obviously, Poletti would not get there alone. He doesn't like to party by himself, so he would bring his friends along. This included Scalfaro that I was talking about. He would go also. And also, remember, he's in charge of the investigation side of things, the police side of things, so he shouldn't be there, especially. Right. But he is there, so obviously he's going to cover it up. Always older men. They would have dinner with these girls. There would be alcohol. They would try and schmooze them. They would compliment them, flirt with them, try and get them drunk, and get Mother Superiors like nothing happened. Okay, I bet she left. I bet she left them there. And I was like, I didn't see anything. Just plausible deniability. She's like,
for sure.
I never saw anything. Oh yeah, because you fucking walked away. I'm not having that.
Just like hanging out and being like, yo, this is fucking gross. I'm out. I don't think that's how nuns talk, but
right. God, it's so dumb. And then we get to this part of it. So not only do they have this like prison of girls, they didn't keep them there long, because they would transfer them to all different parts of the world. So they couldn't communicate with people to try and get themselves freed. They would be alienated immediately because they go to a whole new area of the world where they just had to kind of deal with it. So this included Africa, Bosnia, Poland, and London were just some of the cities mentioned. So these are places these girls are sent to where they're immediately just kind of stuck once more because they don't know anybody. How are they supposed to get back home? So this is where they get to the dossier pages. And this is where they get down to the expenses for Emanuela's existence. So it's possible, I don't know if she's still alive today, potentially, but she may have been alive in the 90s still.
Jeez.
But it's possible, which is good and bad. It's a really kind of a bittersweet. So she gets sent away to London, potentially, because there's certain places in London that are mentioned in the dossier that she was over there. One of these places is a gynecologist. Yes. So who was paying for this? obviously they're saying it's Poletti, but where does he get this money? It's got to come from like Vatican funds. He's being paid.
Yeah.
It's just dirty money. Don't no. So this happens in like 92 or 93 that the funds are happening, and she goes to this gynecologist and whatnot. And then Poletti pays $50,000 US money for unknown service, unknown procedure, unknown situation. And then that's all I have so far. That's what I have. It's just the expense list, these clips, and
Jesus.
yeah, so she lived for hopefully another decade. Hopefully she's alive. I don't know how long they would keep them alive. I don't know if they get to a point where they're so brainwashed and broken down that they will never say anything, so they're out living somewhere in a different country.
Right.
I mean, if it's happened in FLDS, if it's happened in all these other places, it's possible.
Yeah.
I hope that she's still alive. I hope that maybe we'll find her. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that's fucked.
Yeah.
That's super gross.
So that's
like
all
upsettingly
sent
gross.
to me. Yeah, this was all sent to me last night, and they're still sending me things right now. So there may be a part 3. I don't want to do it again next episode because it's a lot. It's a really heavy case. But I think we'll revisit it once I get the complete information that this person has.
Yeah.
But that's what I have for Emanuela Orlandi. It's really intense. It's really insane. And it's really, really heartbreaking.
An absolutely disgusting, unexpected 2-parter.
I know. As of 18 hours ago is when this whole thing changed, when I got all the messages. But thank you guys if you've made it this far into the episode. We really do appreciate it. It's a lot to handle. It's a lot about the Catholic Church. And if you are Catholic, this may be a really even harder thing for you to hear. So it's not great. It's not looking good. But it's all alleged. I'm not going to say for sure I have 100% proof.
Right.
But I don't think my source is lying. There's way too much information, way too much exact names, situations, detail. It just doesn't feel like it just.
I mean, and it's one of those things that unfortunately, like in religion and even in any organization, there can be dark spots. They can be much darker than you could, initially fathom. And I don't want anyone to feel like it negates the good that, like I'm not particularly religious, but
right, yeah, me either.
Religion does a lot of good for a lot of people. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it gives a lot of people comfort, and it gives a lot of people community. And if that's something that you're a part of, we're not trying to alienate you.
Right.
But the main thing would be, there's unfortunate darkness a lot of unsuspected places,
especially when these places are unchecked. Who's going to check them and keep them in line? No one. There's no one to do that, which is how this thing kind of flourishes. But I definitely agree with you. Even though we're not religious so much now, you and I were both raised going to church every week with our families.
Oh yeah.
Like we know that whole deal. We've heard the whole spiel, all the sermons, everything like that. There's a lot of good, I think, the guidelines and the stories and everything in the Bible. There's a lot of good lessons that are instilled in you that I think are really good. Whether or not the exactness, I think is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that like, it's, me personally, like I said, not religious really in any means at this point. But I have people in my life that are still very religious, and it gives them great comfort, and it's a source of happiness, and it's a source of comfort and community, and it helps them to be better people. And I'm cool with that. Like I've got no problem with it. It just doesn't happen to be for me.
Correct. And I think we can all coexist. Like when I see those coexist bumper stickers, I'm like, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Those are rad.
We don't have to agree on every single detail of everything. If you can be cool with me, I can be cool with you. We know what shit is fucked up, like super fucked up on all levels in every religion. Like, let's just be cool people. Let's just be chill.
I'm not gonna force my views on you. You don't have to force your views on me.
Right.
You just be chill.
Exactly. That's us in a nutshell.
Yep.
We try to be cool, but we're also trying to talk about these cases where there's a lot of not cool shit going down.
Oh yeah, it's a real bummer. Like as long as you're not hurting anyone, like I could give a shit less what you guys do.
Basically, yeah.
If you know, and I mean, sometimes you hurt people and it's consensual. Whatever.
All right, we're
to a degree. Huh? Yeah.
I mean,
to a
we're not
degree.
here to kink shame people. Live your life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just don't be an asshole. Just don't be an asshole. That's all it comes down to. But I think that's the majority of what we have for today's case. And I legitimately found it really intriguing to Severus, get out of my face. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. Once again, we have a TikTok now, DFDE Pod. We have an Instagram, Dear Friends Dead Ends Pod. Cody looks really miserable, and I don't know why. Is that just your face?
Yeah. No, I'm just sitting here. I do have to pee.
Okay. Anyway, so we're gonna wrap it up. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys for episode 7 next week.
Episode 7.
7.
Fucking 7, you idiots.
Wow. Okay.
I came in hot. My bad.
We also want to just mention one last time. We are going to be doing Twitch on Thursday night. My cat is eating something. So, okay. Twitch Thursday night. It's going to be Dear Friends Dead Ends. I don't know how we're going to do it. We're going to have to figure that out, how we're going to both stream together. What time should we do? It's going to be Eastern Standard Time.
I work till at least 7.
Oh boy. So is like 10 reasonable, or is that too late for you?
No, I mean, if I'm drinking, I'll probably be up late anyway.
Okay. So 10 p.m. this Thursday, we're going to go over it and just do a conspiracy theory episode live. Feel free to join us.
Birds aren't real.
Yeah.
Birds aren't real. They're from the government. I read that online.
I think that's in the bag, so we'll find out if that's the one we pick. We're gonna
that's the one I'm talking about, regardless of what we pick. I'm talking about how birds aren't real.
Jesus Christ. We're gonna pick it randomly, and then Cody's just gonna interject birds aren't real the whole time. So if you think it's a good time, come find us. But thank you guys so much for listening to Dear Friends and Dead Ends podcast. We love you guys. And we'll see you guys next week.
I like you guys a lot. I wouldn't say love yet.
Okay. All right.
Bye.